Hey, you remember we told everybody that we were going to do something special?
I do.
Something big.
Yeah.
I bought a tractor.
You kidding me?
No, I bought a tractor. I guess we should tell everybody about it, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's go do it. Well, what'd you think?
Well, you chose an LS, huh?
Yeah, I did. I looked at a lot of different tractors and I just finally chose this one.
Interesting. Well, why don't you tell me why in the world you chose LS?
Well, keep in mind that I looked at a lot of tractors and I looked at all the 5 major brands. I looked at the Massey Ferguson, the John Deere. I looked at New Holland and Case. I also looked at the Kubota. On Kubota, though, I looked at 2 different tractors on Kubota. I looked at, on Kubotas, I was looking at the, I think it's called the M7060, and then I looked at the it's the M4D071. All the tractors I looked at were 75 and below horsepower. I tried to compare apples to apples on every single tractor that I looked at. I looked at a Massey Ferguson 4707, New Holland Power Star 75. I looked at the Case 75C, and I also looked at the John Deere 5E series tractors. But at the same time, I also looked at Coyote, and I looked at Mahindra, and then I also looked at this LS. The Mahindras I didn't look real hard at, but that's not because they're a bad tractor. I just didn't look real hard at them. It's not my preference there. I looked at the RX 7320 and the Coyote and compared these two. But yeah, that's what I did.
Well, you just named a whole bunch of tractors.
Yes, I did.
And did any of them stand out to you?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of shopping. I mean, you have to do your research, and there's a lot of shopping. But there was one tractor that stood out a lot more than the rest of them, and you know, I've got to be honest about that. I guess I like the Massey Ferguson 4707, but it was a bigger tractor than this. Actually, it stands on a big 100 horsepower frame. This tractor sits on just a little bit smaller frame.
Okay, well,
to be honest though, hey, you know, to be honest though, I liked all of them. There wasn't a single one of them I didn't like. I liked every one of them.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. If I could own one of each, I would.
Well, I think I'd be right there with you.
Right.
Well, was it your first time looking at LS, or did you look at it in the past?
No, I looked at them several years ago, many years ago. They had come, I think they're fairly new in the U.S. market. And I went down and looked at some of their smaller stuff because they were selling some of the more compact tractors at the time. And I looked at them and they still were a pretty decent tractor. But you know, at that time, I didn't buy one, obviously. And so, you know, I decided to give LS another chance.
Well, what changed your mind? Did you do some research or something that just changed everything?
Yeah, you know, I did quite a bit of research. I read a lot of forums. I watched every YouTube video there is out there just about on LS. I read every article I could find. I sat on the LS website, read everything I could find there. But in the end, as I was going through that, what I kept finding out is, you know, every tractor, no matter if it's any other brand, instead of just naming brands, it's any other brand, there was bad reviews, there were good reviews. This one had some bad reviews. I'm not going to say it didn't. It had some bad reviews in certain areas, but I also found out there was a lot of misinformation out there about this tractor. One of the things that I didn't like is that, you know, some of the people that were commenting on the tractor, which is very common in forums, was, you know, my aunt's uncle's cousins got one. you know. And you know, I really think that if you need to own the tractor before you start bashing it and, you know, saying, no, you need to stick with a certain brand. A lot of people are brand loyal.
Mm-hmm.
But I gave LS a chance because, you know, after doing all that research and looking at LS, I decided, you know, look, it's not a knockoff. It's not a cheap tractor. It's not an off brand. LS makes their own tractors. They've been making LS has been making tractors. I think it was about 46 years now. They've been making tractors. They are a Korean tractor, but they're one of the biggest tractor makers in Korea. They came to the United States in 2009, and they've been here since. And they have an assembly plant in North Carolina, Louisiana, and California, plus a parts plant, I believe, or not plant. It's a parts distribution center in North Carolina. So, you know, they're trying to establish themselves just like every other brand has tried to do. They've all tried to establish themselves at some point.
Okay. Well, I guess that leads me back to why LS.
Well, okay, that's a good question. And I think after doing all the research and when I looked at these tractors and I looked at all the features that each tractor had, LS had, it checked all the boxes. I mean, literally it did. I started looking at some of the other brands and they would have some of the things I wanted. And there was an exception there, but there was one of, you know, they would have some of the things that I wanted, and then they would not have, but they would not have everything on it. This tractor came with a lot of options, and that's what drove me there. And so basically, if I just to tell you in one word, it was the value, what I got for my money.
Well, what did you get?
Well, this is a 73 horsepower tractor. It's 73 horsepower. It's got 62 horsepower on the PTO. It's four-wheel drive. You know, it has a 3-range transmission. It's 4-speed. It has creeper gear in it. The creeper gears are for your low and mediums. Basically, it's a 20-speed transmission. Those are just, you know, just the beginning of the things that were on this tractor. It is a 4-cylinder diesel. It's a Tier 4 diesel. I mean, it has to be a Tier 4 diesel. But it also, when you really start looking at the tractor and you look at some of the features that came on it that don't come sometimes on some of the other ones. Now, there are some of the features do come on other tractors, but not all of them. For example, the self-leveling bucket. That does come on a couple of tractors, but it doesn't come on very many of them. And this was standard on this tractor. The other thing was standard. This tractor has 3 remotes in the back. It has 3 remotes. There was several tractors that I looked at had 1 remote, maybe 2. Or you can add them if you want to spend money on them, but they didn't have 3 remotes standard. And that's a pretty good expense. It also came with a third function valve, and the joystick was already set up with the third function. And some people are like, well, you can get that put on, but in some tractors that's a pretty expensive add-on. Now, it did not come with the hoses, and it did not. But that kit is like $300 or $400 from what I understand. It didn't come with those hoses. But I will tell you this. You know, I worked with the dealer worked with me, and I've got a third function put on this tractor, so it's on here. He worked with me, and we got that taken care of. But the valve is the expensive part. The valve was already on this tractor, and that's a big deal. You know, other things that came. One of the things that I really liked was that adjustable shuttle.
Mm-hmm.
That is just not on every one of them. That adjustable shuttle is so nice. You can just adjust that shuttle, and so it doesn't just jerk your back out of jerk your back out of joint,
Or even spin the tires,
or spin the tires, or whatever.
Yeah.
You can adjust that, and that's very nice to have. The other thing was what they call a thumb clutch. I call it the index finger clutch because it's on the front of the shifter. But that's a big deal, especially since I don't have to go on the clutch but one time. Start it up. Well, I'll go ahead and say twice. Start it up. Put it in range. Anytime you shift from range to range, you need to push on the clutch. But you put it in range, and then after that, use that index finger clutch, and you shift gears throughout the 4 gears, and then the power shuttle shift on it, forward and reverse. It is a dream to operate, especially if you're doing loader work or other things.
Well, I know you've mentioned a few things here, but I'm excited to get real in depth with the tractor and take a look at everything. And matter of fact, we're going to be putting out a series on this tractor. We're going to be going over from bumper to bumper. We're going to look at the whole makeup of this tractor, take you all the way down to the engine. We're going to go over maintenance, what it takes to take care of it, We're going to get up into the cab. We're going to start this thing up. We're going to go over all the features that it has to offer inside of the cab. And then we're going to go all the way to the back, you know, and looking at that PTO, that 3-point attachment. We're going to get those remotes and look at them, you know. And basically, if there's anything that's in that manual you got with the tractor, you got one of those, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it's for.
Well, it has some information in it, and I think we're going to let them know.
I guess we should read that thing.
Yeah.
Huh?
So we're going to let you know what's in that manual and what's in this tractor. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe and follow along with us as we take a look at this beast. Until next time, thanks.